All right. Good evening, LinkedIn. Dave Wilson, the Ring and Hire Show. Hey, listen, tonight I got a great colleague on LinkedIn that we're going to try to put back to work tonight. It's called Place Chuck Williams Back to Work in, now let me say this right, Kennewick, Eastern Washington, right?
You got two of those words perfect.
Two of them?
So,
or what was the one I didn't?
It's Kennewick.
Kennewick. All right.
Yeah.
That is one hard word. So, all right, everybody that knows me, we'll be right back after this video. I still love that intro no matter how much I do it. I love it, man. I feel like I'm pumped up.
I feel like running through a wall right now. Like
I know,
that's got me pumped. Let's go.
It is. I tell people all the time that cost me $35 on the Fever app, whatever you want to call that. I've known this guy for 3 years, and for $35, he knows right what I'm thinking. And I put the keywords in there, and I saw that, and I was like, oh man, he came back and he made that, and I was like, wow, that was awesome. It is.
Deal, $35.
That was it, $35 on marketing, right? All right, tonight, everybody, part of the show that I like doing, the Ring of Hire show, I wanted to bring on people, do live interviews, anybody that I see on LinkedIn and that are looking for work, and everybody sees that open to work badge and you're ready to go. And I saw Chuck's post and he was looking for work, and he's got a lot of great experience. So Chuck, I'm going to go right into it, and I want to introduce yourself, but first just tell me about yourself, and then we'll get into what you're looking for.
Sure. Well, thanks, David, first of all, for having me on. This means the world to me. And it's great work that you're doing here. Genuinely, it's awesome. So I can't give you too much grief for pronouncing Kennewick wrong. As a Texas transplant that now lives in Eastern Washington, I got to tell you, I did not pronounce a single word properly when I came up here. All the city names I butchered. So you got closer than I did, probably.
All right.
I'm originally from Texas. I've been in Washington State about.
Oh wow. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's where my wife's from. She's from here, and a lot of people in Texas will say only thing that can get a man to leave Texas.
So, what made you move up to the Washington area?
My wife. This is where she's from, and her and her family are from up here. And sometimes in life you just you couldn't resist the deal of paying $35 and getting a sweet intro video. I couldn't resist trading everything I had to be with my wife up here. She's absolutely amazing. It was a
so she's from the Washington area?
She's from Eastern Washington, yeah. And so now we have two awesome boys, a 9-year-old and a 10-year-old.
Love it.
And yeah, we love it here in Eastern Washington.
Well, me and Chuck, before the show, we were talking. I think we talked more about what he has behind all his guitars, and I love music. And I think the last 5 minutes before the show started, we said, I think we should talk about the show and what we're going to say. But no, that's great with the kids. And usually all I see on the news is people from Washington and California going to Texas. They said to be going to Texas right now. A lot of them on the news, I see.
Yeah, that's a pretty common one. The majority of my family is still in Texas, and they're trying to convince me to come back. But
they're trying.
I like it here. I like not sweating 11 and a half months out of the year. It's pretty nice. So I'll take it.
Yeah, that's right. Your weather. All right, I want to get right into it, Chuck. I was looking at your work record here on LinkedIn. I was like, wow. I mean, I know when I look at job titles, I see the Vice President of Operations, VP of Customer Service, VP of Customer Support. I want you to just first, talk about what you've done and what kind of roles that you're done and what you're looking for.
Yeah. Well, I'll start. I'll try to be succinct. It's not always one of my strengths, but I'll try to be succinct here. I went to school. I went to Bible school, graduated from Texas Bible Institute. And, I was a youth pastor and associate pastor for about 10 years, right? I love people.
Oh, wow.
I really like working with younger folks.
The kids.
and you know that translated really well into when I was working at Sinskey Services and running their customer support there and being in charge of that team. It's what I found, especially about 10 years ago, it's a lot of younger people that are just entering the workforce that are taking a lot of contact center jobs. Now, of course, it's a little different now with how the economy is, but it kind of just naturally worked. And I got to work with these teams and help develop younger people. And
it's
just awesome. A natural fit. And that's where my passion is to help people become better versions of themselves. And, it was just a great fit. And so Sinskey Services, great company. I was there for about 8 years and worked my way up there. And it's kind of always been one of those guys that, like, there's a problem over there and we don't really know how to solve it, but we have a Chuck.
That's what I wanted to ask you, because I was like, when it says, when you read these titles for someone that, I don't know what these I'm like, all right, Vice President of Customer Service, Customer Service and Support. I'm sorry, I'm thinking it's got to be problems, nothing but issues. And that's what that is, right? You're going basically when it comes down to it.
Yeah, and you got to have, this is probably not the right way to say this, but you got to kind of have a weird brain that likes that chaos. I've always been somebody that I do get bored easily when I'm doing the same thing over and over. And so one of the cool things about working with people is, people problems are sometimes give you quite a few. But what's really cool too is, working at Sinskey and then at Signpost and, with other companies that I've helped along the way too. A lot of the issues aren't that they think might be people problems, are really process system problems. And those processes and systems don't work well for people. Friction point kind of manifests itself in the workforce, right?
Is it the same basically though as the job title performance management, the same thing? Or
there's a lot of that. It's kind of think about, and vice president of operations, manager of operations, depending on what industry you're in, could mean something completely different.
That's
a way to think about it is when I was at Sinskey and at Signpost, I ran customer service. I ran the day-to-day operation. So a lot of P&L management, a lot of recruiting, staffing, hiring, process improvement, kind of top to bottom, making sure the business itself was functioning so that marketing, sales, those pieces could go out and grow the business and then hand it to me. And I make sure it's all working right.
Okay. So the same thing. That's why I was curious because, like where I work, hey, we got a job in Austin, Texas, if you're looking for a performance manager, if you want to go back to Austin. But yeah, I was looking at that and I was like, wow, what type of, do you have a certain industry that you like, Chuck? There's got to be again, I say it that, but customer service is everywhere. Customer support is everywhere,
Yeah. I really like home services, like landscaping and pest control. And
yeah, I saw that you did that.
Yeah, at Sinskey, I absolutely love that work. I love supporting that. And then at Signpost, we were customer service for just under 2,000 home service companies, roofers, plumbers, things like that. And I just really love those verticals and those spaces because they're full of people that want to take care of people. Right. They didn't get into that business because they could make a quick buck. They got into it because they wanted to help.
Right.
And that aligns with me a lot. That resonates with me a ton. And so I love supporting, whether it's through a BPO or directly, like when I worked at Sinskey. I just love working with folks that care about people.
Just care about. I love that. What do you find in the transferable skills? Now, what type of work are you actually, if you had to say like the job titles? I like to say that because that is broad, but is there any other type of job titles that sticks out to that you were looking for that you could put out?
Yeah, a lot of what I've been looking at and applying to and going after has been more like director level for customer success. For some CRM, some software companies, there's a lot of those out right now. There are a lot of great CRMs in the home services space that I've tried to get on with. But I've really enjoyed anything the customer success side of things, customer service. And then there's a couple of BPOs or contact centers or customer service as a service, if you will.
Do you think employers look at that as could you transferable skills from there to what you've known now can you go to different industries also, or will they look at that and say no because you don't specialize in that?
Yeah, currently I haven't had anyone say yes. So, I'm not quite sure, but I can tell you at Signpost, we had a software offering. I was directly involved in supporting our customer service team there. And so I do have some transferable there, as well as running all customer service for Senski. So a lot of it's fairly transferable. There's obviously minutia and details and kind of how it's structured, but I've got enough experience with those teams to do that. And as working at Senski, especially, we partnered directly. We were one of the largest clients for our CRM, so we spent a lot of time helping them develop parts of the product and other things. So I do have a lot of product knowledge there and support knowledge. So I do think it is transferable for sure.
Is your industry, Chuck? Is it demographics, like where you're located? Is it there? It's the demographic area around there. I mean, or do you have to be near a rural area, city area, or doesn't really matter? Or
well, it honestly depends. A lot of companies are changing things up right now, and some that have been very office focused are now seeing the strategic advantage that comes from recruiting nationally for some of these positions, both from a skill set standpoint and from a wage pressure standpoint. And then some companies are the other way around. They've been remote for so long, and now they're doing return to office. So
yeah, I see a lot of that with Amazon. A lot of different companies, or even Meta, all of them. They're not messing around, boy.
And Amazon had a big contact center here in Kennewick for a while, and they went fully remote. They shut that down, and then they're bringing everyone back to the office, but there is no office. I don't know. It was kind of confusing. Look, they know what they're doing. I'm not gonna.
Were you working remote in your industry? Were you working remote during COVID, or?
So I've been remote since 2020. Obviously, I've gone out to sites and various things, but when I was at Senski when COVID hit, and we shifted our entire corporate support center to remote. That's something that I, along with our COO, we spearheaded that that effort. We had our new COO come in, and then 2 months later, COVID hit, and he was like, "I guess I'll focus on this then." And so, but we had a really good. I mean, as good of a time as you can have. We made the best of it during that process.
I just, before COVID, when that hit, I'm allowed to work remote on Fridays, and I have a hard time still doing that, man. With COVID and spending those 2 years remote, I think I got so burned out because I worked, for me, remote. I was working more hours because I didn't let it go. If I had to do it again full time, I don't know. I'd have to be really disciplined because I'm at my desk at 7 in the morning. I didn't take breaks. And then all of a sudden you go back on the other side, and then you get a friggin' idea. And then you got to run back in front of your laptop before you know it. Now it's 9 o'clock at night. And that's just me. I just felt like I worked more. I was more productive, but I put those hours in doing that too. And that's hard.
I don't ask my wife what she feels about it, because I feel like she saw me more when I worked from the office, to be honest. As somebody that I can hyper fixate sometimes on finding solutions to some of these problems. And
you find yourself at home doing that too, right?
No, that's what I mean. Like, it's 8 p.m. and I don't even realize it. I'm still working. My wife comes in, she goes, "Hey, you're gonna come tell the kids goodnight?" And I'm like, "What's going on?" Right. So at least when you're working from the office, 5 o'clock rolls around and everyone's leaving, and you're like, I guess.
See, that's what I think a lot of people don't realize. That's what I missed, I believe. That going home and little things like that. You got to go to work. But when you're unemployed and you don't have a job, then it's like you really wish you had that problem.
For sure.
I mean, you just say that. What is some of the towns or city areas that you're looking for work that you would be willing to go to if you had to tell?
Yeah, I'm in a fairly rural area right now. I'm about 3 hours east of Seattle and about an hour and a half south of Spokane. And so those are the most those areas make the most sense. I've gone over to Seattle and done some Monday through Friday stuff over there before.
Right.
And so those are the main hubs there. And so that Portland is about the same distance as Seattle, because I'm in the southeast corner of Washington. So those are some areas.
You don't mind the commute. You don't mind commuting or anything like that, huh? I mean,
minding it and doing it are two different things.
I know. We talked about it before the show. You're right. Yeah.
I have a strong ability to do things that I sometimes don't like, so that I'm going to have a desired outcome, right? Something I'm teaching my 10-year-old right now is, I know you don't want to do your homework, but at some point you're going to have to learn that you got to do things sometimes you don't want to do, so you can have things you want to have. And so that's kind of how I feel about it, right? It's my goal. I would love to have something remote or local, but more than that, I want to take care of my family, and I want to be a part of something bigger than myself.
And be a part of the company too. You'd be willing hybrid mode, everything.
Absolutely, for sure.
If you had to say some of your strengths, Chuck, like for what you've done and hear, what do you feel some of your strengths that a company would really like about?
I think this is, I'm sure everyone says this too. I hate saying nice things about myself. So,
I know, right? I know.
I'm going to try to find a way to,
I'm the best.
I'm going to try to find a way to have this not sound like I'm too.
I'm not going to ask you what's the least favorite or what's your least. I
made a list for you, David. I made a list.
That is one question. I don't know about you, but that question there, like your weaknesses, I get it. I read books on, I read everything. Everybody's saying this is why they ask it, but I don't know. That's a tricky question. I'd rather say what I'm, what my strengths are than my weakness.
There's some value sometimes to that question, but to answer the actual question you asked, I would say something I'm really good at is helping connect people to the purpose of their work.
Wow,
and I think
love it.
that is in every job I've had. I genuinely believe that is what has given us the strategic advantage,
right?
For whatever work group I'm with. When people are engaged and cared for and connected to the purpose of their work and equipped to actually get the job done.
The purpose of your work.
Yeah. Listen, productivity is a byproduct. It's just gonna happen.
Right.
When you have people that are connected to that purpose, like we said, they're equipped to get the job done, they're cared for. And that's something that I'm able to figure out what motivates people, having genuine conversations with them, figure out what makes you tick. What is it about this job? What frustrates you about this job, so I can kind of fix some of those things. And what do you love about it, and making sure and through that process, sometimes you find out we got a great person, but they're not in the right role. Let's find them something they really like. Right. And
I love it. That is right there. That I can tell know what you're talking about, because those are the kind of things that I talk about on the show all the time. People are the most valuable. And I like that I didn't think of it that way. Find them in a better role. I love that. That just makes total sense.
I've had a ton of people, and it's tough as to speak of the role of the leader versus the manager, right? Those are two different. Oftentimes you wear both of those hats simultaneously, but the manager kind of hates that, because sometimes you got somebody that is from a culture fit, they're an A.
Right.
Maybe they're not performing really well. What's the natural direction you go there? Performance management, maybe put them on a PIP. Maybe HR or a higher up manager that isn't as close to that situation is saying, let's start working this person out. If they're a great culture fit, especially, and they care about what you're doing as an organization, a lot of times you've got a fantastic square peg. Right. And you are just ruthlessly trying to get them to fit into this circle shaped hole. Right. And it just doesn't work, but it's tough, because now you lose somebody and you got to bring someone back in. And from a manager standpoint, you can look at that and go, this is going to be a lot of work. But it's really not. In the short term, maybe. But are you trying to build something to last, or are you trying to build something that's easy for you this week?
I love it. Whoa, man, you're saying all the right things tonight, man. You're saying that.
You're getting me pumped up. Look, it was that intro video. That intro video got me pumped up, David. You messed up.
Yeah, that's the truth, though, when you say it like that, and I wish a lot more people would think that way. No, I love that. If I had a bunch of your friends right here, one of my favorite questions, if I had a bunch of your friends and family right here, me, and you're outside there, what would they say about you?
Oh boy. I'm usually the life of the party. I don't know if you're picking up on that from this conversation. They would say that, I think they would echo some of the things that we kind of talked to right now. Is I always make sure that my friends are doing good. And, if they gave you a critique about me, I'm going to find a way to say something negative about myself here, David. If they gave you a critique, it would be that I would maybe go a little bit easier on myself, hold myself to sometimes an unrealistic standard, and that I would kind of slow down sometimes and kind of appreciate some of the small wins along the way. But I have a lot of fun with my friend group. I don't know if you're anything like me. My friend group now is like 4 people at this point in my life.
Yeah, right. In your life, right? That's it.
Like there's 2 of them you should not talk to. But I think that they would say that I'm a lot of fun. I make sure that they're doing okay. The most important thing is, checking on each other, from a mental health standpoint, making sure we're good. We're all dads. We're all, we all got kids. We're all doing sometimes too much. And sometimes we need to slow each other down a little bit and say, hey, let's refocus on what's really important. And that's oftentimes the things that are right in front of you, not the work that, You're on
I
hour
love it.
12 of work. Let's go ahead and put
Right.
that down and let's focus on our families.
I
Right?
love it. You know, we hear so much about, and you know, I'm sure you hear the word company culture, and I try to talk about that a lot too. Is what does it mean to you? What does culture for a company mean to you? Even if you were to look at another company, I know when people always sit here and sometimes on the show, well, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. How do you find that? How do you just by okay, there's a job, there's your job description. All right. Okay. They sound like they have my same views. It's like, okay, what did you see that I didn't see? I try to look at it. It's like, all right, what do you do when you look at a company? What's your job when you're actually applying? What do you try to look for when you have your interviews or what they talk about or anything?
Yeah. Oh man, David, we could talk about this. Culture is
I know.
I love it.
Yeah.
So I would say, I'm trying to figure out not delicate, but like probably the more
Right.
kind of way to say this is like, do these companies have a clue? That's
Right.
really the first thing I look at, right? So when I'm talking about, hey, what are some of the pain points in the organization? That's one of my first questions when I'm in an interview and they are like,
Nice.
do you have anything for us? I'm like, yes.
That's a good question because that will put somebody. Listen, that'll sometimes quiet you up because if that other person doesn't know, that's a hard. I like that.
They'll also tell you, they will very quickly tell on themselves. Because I will ask them, what's pain point? How long you've been having that? What are some of the things that you've tried? And oftentimes, if they've had the same problem for a longer period of time, especially if it's a
Right.
people-related problem, man, we're having a really hard time with like employee attrition, and it's been going on for a long time. Like, well, what have you tried? And
Right.
they kind of get into some of that. But the other thing is, if you're asking these companies, what are some of your pain points? Are they talking about things that are going to, I mean, they're always going to give you some sort of performance metric. Hey, we're really trying to get this here. Are they telling you about, hey, we're really trying to improve things for our employees? Here's some of the other things, right? I had an interview recently, and as a part of that interview, I asked that question, and they stated, well, we're working on making sure that we have enough managers in place because right now we've noticed that our employee to manager ratio is just out of whack, and we're not able to have recurring one-on-ones. And I'm like, okay, this is an organization clearly that care. And I asked, well, what's important about that? And they're like, obviously following up performance management, but we've hit our KPI goals for the last 2 quarters. Right. It's not so much that, it's that our employees are starting to feel disconnected. And I hear that and I go, okay, so performance is very important to you clearly because you're on top of that, but also making sure your people aren't getting burned out and drowning. Yep. That's huge, right?
Yeah, it is.
So no one wants to work for a company that doesn't care about it, at least not long term, right? So
no, there's so many things, but since COVID, we always talk about it. But until that, I never heard of that word. Tell you the truth, Chuck. Until company culture, until after COVID, I don't think. Maybe I'm old school, or it just was never said. You just did the job. I don't know. It was just so different years ago.
Well, this is. I back when I worked at Sinski, I would speak at the Real Green conference. It's a CRM there. They've been purchased by WorkWave since then. And one of the main talking points I would talk on was culture. And I tell, I would have people come up to me and go, well, how do I get this culture thing? And I'm like, well, I have good and bad news for you. Good news is you already have a culture. The bad news is the fact that you don't know means it's probably not a good one because.
Well, no, culture, and I like what you said there, because I say the same thing about people is, it's like when I had the stamping company own, it's like, all right, what do I stand for? What am I? What do I want to be known for? Like there's a couple companies on LinkedIn I really follow and I like because they are they believe in working with nonprofit organizations. So you're always seeing posts about, helping the Battleborn over by us. You're always seeing them have employees at the food banks. Constantly doing that, constantly showing employee recognition on LinkedIn, even on LinkedIn, because people think just because you're entry level that you can't be on LinkedIn. And I'm sorry, I think that's just a wrong concept of thinking to me. Yeah. Because I want my daughter, or if I want somebody on LinkedIn, because no matter what skill set they're at, I just think it's a great platform, and you can put out there and you can see some of the companies what they care about. All right, I said it.
No, absolutely. I agree with you, and I think look, cultures. Did you have a book fall? What's going on?
Yeah, it was the Bible.
Look, you're making the ground shake right now, right? We're too excited.
I think I'm just going to leave it there. That was either a sign or something. So
it's something. Better not get involved. Yeah,
no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say.
Culture is just 2 things, and when you reduce it down to this, it makes it, in my mind, it kind of makes it less I'm not as put off by it is that culture is two things: it's what you create and what you allow.
Right.
Right. And so when you allow underperformers consistently, people that aren't pulling their weight, and other people have to pick up the weight,
Right.
that impacts your, you're not directly contributing to that, but by inaction, right? Things like that happen. If you're creating a culture where that we're going to have regular one-on-ones. They're not always going to be KPI related. Sometimes I'm just going to check on you, figure out what's going on. Right. If your culture is more flattened, which is what I've always tried to run in whatever business I've been a part of, is because I know that in my last job as the VP of operations, by the time a problem got to me, it was an old problem.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I wanted our hierarchy to be as flattened as possible, where people knew that they could come to me and they knew that if they brought me something, even if they didn't present it very well, and this is a huge problem with senior level directors and VPs and stuff like that, is they didn't say it properly. So they don't listen to what they're saying. If they're coming to you and telling you something that's annoying, I know it's not the biggest thing you're working on, but it's the biggest thing to them. And when you learn to value that, they'll learn to value in return a lot more of your input. Now you're building trust.
Well, what do you feel is one of your strongest, like what type of a leader do you feel in a management, especially when you say the VP of operations, and I listen to everything you're saying, is what type of leader do you feel that you are?
Oh, you got me there. That's a tough one. I have been referred to as a player's coach in the past,
right?
Where my teams historically I feel like they would follow me to the ends of the earth because they know that I would do anything to keep them safe along the way and to provide opportunities for them along the way. And they know that I really work for them.
Right.
I'm a firm believer that the best team wins. And by that, I mean, like, no duh, Chuck. But by that, I mean, I make sure that there's good players on my team.
Right.
If we want to make this sports related, right? There's good players on my team, right? And so if someone's not a good fit, we're honest about it. We have that conversation. We figure it out. I've talked to people and say, it's not going to work for you here.
Right.
Let's help you find something. I've helped people find jobs externally.
Right.
Because I didn't want them to go without work, but I knew it wasn't going to work out with us here. Right. And so
I think if a lot more companies did even that, I know it sounds easy. I mean, when we say it, but to do it, you can do it constructively. You can really change someone, because sometimes they'll just be relieved. I've seen them do it. I've seen them move, find that person another job in another area, and that person will finally just breathe. Like, it's over. No
one wants to feel like a loser, right? There's a reason why you got to pay players to go play for the Browns. You got to pay them so much, right? Because being a loser sucks, right? You got to pay the loser tax, right? And that feeling of, sorry if there's any Cleveland Browns, if I lose a job opportunity because someone's a Cleveland Browns fan,
the Cleveland Brown, right?
I'm okay with it. Listen, but the biggest thing is that when people feel like losers and they can't get it done, and they will internalize that, and it absolutely, from the overflow of how they're feeling, that's going to bleed out on their work. It becomes kind of this doom cycle, right? And so by injecting hope into that situation to say, look, I know it's not here. Let's find where it is. Let me help you.
Where it is.
Right? That's something I've helped people with in the past, and it's been huge. And then finding the right people, getting them on, and then booking it, right? Going getting some good work done.
Everybody wins. I like one question I always ask, and I always like, if you were the hiring manager and you were hiring for someone that you're looking for, what you're looking for, what do you look for an employee when you do that? If there's a new person coming and you're looking for your job, what would you look for to hire that person?
I would tell you, I look for someone that is going to make it to where I don't have to worry about whatever business unit they're going to be managing.
Right.
And I know, as somebody that's been, every level up and down the ladder at this point, up to VP at least, is the best hires I've made were the ones that could understand what I needed them to get done.
Right.
And I would empower them to say yes and to go get those things done.
Right.
And they go out and they just do their best. And if they come back and look, if they make a mistake, that's fine. Just don't make the same mistake.
I am the same way that you're saying it right there. I love it.
I would say
Understand
that
why.
like I'm the kind of person that I spend the time to really figure out what the underlying conditions are in a lot of
Right.
the pain points, not just what are the symptoms. Because a lot of times when you ask what are the pain points, you get symptoms. You don't actually get what's causing it.
Right.
I'm the kind of person that digs in, figure out what's really going on, and saying, "Hey, everyone, this is going to suck. This is going to be painful. This is probably a sacred cow. You really like this part of the system,
Yeah.
and we're probably holding on to it because someone that's worked here for a really long time made it 10 years ago, and it's their baby,
Right.
and they don't want to. But we're going
Right.
to get rid of it now, and let's all be uncomfortable together. But growth doesn't happen
Right.
in our comfort zone, so let's get uncomfortable. Let's get this thing done." That's the kind of person I am. So if I was hiring for
Love it.
someone and I had me in front of me, I would ask, "Are you going to make it to where I don't have to worry about this business unit anymore?"
And I
My
love
my
that.
answer is yes. That's what I do.
That's what I do. When I got out of the military, I was in the paper industry. I was my dad's boss, and my mom was there, and my brother.
Hold
all
on, you were
the managers.
your dad's boss?
And my mom, yeah, they were in a union shop, and I got out of the military, and they made me a supervisor there, one of the youngest in the paper industries. My other brother was one, and we were all in the military. And it was a union shop, and the worst ones. Here I was a young person, and they were older, and they would complain. The one you had those 3 or 4 people that would be screaming, yelling, any kind you wanted to do something. But what I learned through the years, not only so much when I got out of a union, you just can't fire people all the time. You won't have anybody. But the ones, my dad would be like, "Doesn't he drive you crazy?" I'm like, "Yeah, but he's kind of making sense."
Yeah, that's
He's
man.
kind of making sense, Dad. I said, "Listen, the guy's an ass." Oh, sorry, but he's coming up with some pretty, and that's where I got some of my ideas when I went into a meeting. I'd be like, "Listen, well, Joe out here is saying," and they'd be like, "But listen to what he's saying." And the high percentage of the time, they could solve the problem in their words. I like how you said before. It's in their words, but a little
Yeah.
harsh, but it'll work.
And you got to get past, as a manager, director, VP, whatever level, you got to get past that initial feeling of, and this is going to sound bad probably,
Right.
that initial feeling of annoyance, because
Right.
you're in the middle of solving a problem on the P&L sheet, and your margin's off, and you're trying to figure out what's going on. Someone goes, "Hey, the CRM isn't responding right," and you go, not a priority right now, right?
Right.
And when you do that, what happens is you're teaching your people to not tell you the truth about what's going on in the business, because there are no big things. There are just lots of little things that get out of hand. It is a death by 1,000 cuts situation, and they'll tell you.
Oh, that's so true.
And if you got to get past that feeling of, I'm in the middle of something right now, and you got to go, look, someone's bringing me something. If it wasn't important to them, they wouldn't be bringing it to me.
Right.
It doesn't feel important to me, but I'm going to trust you that it's important. What you got? What's going on, bud? Right. And then listen to them. And then if maybe you don't have the time to fix it, we'll sit down with them and say, if you had a magic wand right now and you could fix this, what would you do? And whatever they say is probably 60%, 70% of that's probably hyperbole, but some portion of the truth. You're already a good portion of the way there, right? So listening to your people and teaching them that it's a safe place. Don't act annoyed, even if you feel annoyed. Have a little emotional control, right?
Emotional.
And listen to your folks. And the worst thing that could happen is they could come complain to you about problems in your business, and you could learn something you didn't know, and you can make it better for your customers, your employees, your stakeholders, whoever. Worst case scenario.
No. And that's why I love the way you say it. I can tell, you know what you're saying. These things are coming right out of your mouth like nothing. It's like you know what you're talking about. I can tell. And if you had to, we got one more question here for you, is in today's, in customer service, I can imagine what it's like to working with all different demographics, the age, we talk about Gen Zs, all these different things. Has that changed over the years, Chuck, when you're working with them like that? I mean, it's got to be really, really, for someone in those positions to, wow, you got to really think of how they see things.
Yeah, and really quickly to respond to something you said a second ago about how, like, you can, I'm coming up, I'm saying these things really quick. I've messed that up previously. Yeah. I've made a lot of people feel really small in my past, right? I've made a lot of people feel not very heard. Right. And even recently, not intentionally, I've made people feel not heard, and it's kind of one of those things, you mess it up enough, what good looks like, and I've certainly messed it up enough to know what good looks like now, and I just don't want to go back to messing it up. So I would say, to answer your question here, that the main difference is mainly, I got to say, the core from generation to generation. And there's a lot of other subcategories, right? The core has remained the same.
It has to. Yep.
The hierarchy of needs has not changed, right? People need emotional, financial stability. They need a lot of these things, right? And until you fix some of the, look up the hierarchy of needs. But until you've addressed some of those things, you're always going to be coming back to them. What really has changed is how people want to be treated, the expression of it, if you will. Whereas before, like, you throw a pizza party and people are, look, I get excited about pizza party. Let's be honest.
Right. Yeah, I'll always say
I like a good pizza party, right?
Yeah. All right.
But if I had to pick between an employer that, cared about their people and a manager that had regular one-on-ones, that checked in on me, that made sure I was connected to the purpose of my work and things like that, and no pizza parties versus the other way around, get rid of these pizza parties. And I think I think what happened is enough people started seeing through. It's easier to drop $300 on pizza for the office than it is to sit down and actually get in the trenches with your folks. And help them become better versions of themselves, right? It's easier to do some of those things. So I would say, to more succinctly answer your question, people want to be listened to.
Right. People
want to be heard. People want to be given an opportunity to fix problems. And it's not necessarily to change roles, or when people say they want more opportunity, they don't mean, sometimes they mean a different position. Sometimes they mean that. Most of the time they mean, I want you to trust me to solve problems beyond what I'm looking at right now.
Right.
That hasn't changed.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
And if you hit those things and you really listen to what your people are saying beyond the surface level and get down to what are they really asking about and trusting them, when you ask them and they tell you, trust them. Right.
Right.
I think you'll find that. And it's the reason why I have no problem working with boomers, Gen X, Gen Z, millennials. My kids are Gen Alpha. They're saying things like skibbity, David. I don't know what it means.
No clue, man.
They're enjoying it though, right? It's the reason I've been able to work with them, because I've tried to employ some of those techniques of being like, look, I'm going to listen to you and I'm going to trust you. If I say something as a millennial, if I say something that is normal to other millennials, but maybe it's a little more hurtful to you or comes off a certain way, tell me. It is not difficult for me to adapt my style to your preference. That's easy.
That's easy.
Anyway.
Nope. I love it. I got one more. I'm going to give you your elevator picture. I always like to call it here. I want to thank you, first of all, for coming on. I think it's a great way, because I always, just getting to know you, I can tell you're people, you really care about people, and for people that have listened to you, that's what I take out of this. And I feel that, you get that resume and it's just a resume, you don't see that person behind it. It's not always the best written, it's not the best worded, but you need to talk to the person and make them feel good when you come into an interview. That's the way I feel. And I think, like you said before, you evolve. I call it that, evolve. Man, I made all those mistakes, and I've come up, and I wish I would have done things different 20 years ago. I really do, because I was like, wow, I was one of them, but I don't know what it is. I think as you either get older and more you evolve, you're growing and you learn more and more. Just tell us again, Chuck, what type of work you're looking for, what areas, and why somebody should give you a chance.
I'm looking for work in customer service or contact center as a service. And that could be for that customer service, customer success, customer experience, depending on what you call it. It could be for SaaS company. It could be for home services. It could be for BPO. If you're looking for someone to take care of people, whether it's your employees or your customers, that's going to be ruthless with systems and processes, but caring, and somebody that has a development mindset with people, that's going to make it to where that part of the business unit, you're not going to have to worry about it. If you've been waiting for someone like that, I've got great news.
There you go. I'm here.
I can start Monday, right?
I love it. No, I love it. And just the way you said that, it's so true. But no, I want to thank you so much and coming on, and I want to talk to you after this video. But anybody wants to reach out to Chuck, send a message on LinkedIn, send one to myself, and do an introduction. But I said 30 minutes. All right, we're 30 and 40 minutes, so it's not too bad. 10 minutes over, but But Chuck, I'm going to talk to you right after this video. But everybody have a great night, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, Chuck.
Thanks for having me on, David. It's been a treat.
Yes, sir. Be right back after this.
Thank you.